How many decisions have you made within the past couple hours? We make endless decisions throughout the day without even realizing it. And we make those decisions by using various skills, including cognitive skills, which could be based on our own learning and experiences. Since we all come from different backgrounds, it's important to discuss the value of diversity and inclusion and become more aware of how these benefit our STEM environments.
Diversity is about variety. The many differences in individual and organizational characteristics that shape our work environments and research communities. Inclusion in this context is deliberately fostering and embracing diversity.
Acceptance and respect for individual differences improves the research and working environments for everyone and directly contributes to our success.
One area of concern is the potential negative impact that implicit bias poses.
Implicit bias, also known as unconscious bias, refers to the attitudes and stereotypes that affect our understanding, actions, and decisions in an unconscious and unintentional manner.
An extensive body of research over the past few decades has shown that implicit bias is present in and can affect nearly every aspect of our lives, including STEM research and educational environments.
Social psychologists have identified over 100 biases. Some of these biases can play a role in evaluating and selecting individuals for opportunities. One example is affinity bias. This occurs when we can easily identify with someone based on our own affinities, such as attending the same college, growing up in the same neighborhood, or having similar professional experiences. Another example would be gender bias, which is a preconception based on common societal gender stereotypes that filter our processing of information.
In a study conducted by the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, a search committee consisting of teams of male and female professors were asked to evaluate candidates with identical application packages, aside from the names.
Brian was preferred 2-to-1 over Karen. Also, when going for tenure, reservations were expressed 4 times more often for Karen than Brian.
Racial bias can be based on personal experiences or beliefs, but in most cases reflect societal messages such as the images of a racial or ethnic group seen in the media.
In studies conducted by Yale University, more people would select the CV of candidate A, even though the qualifications are exactly the same as candidate B. Why? Because the person's name. White-sounding names receive 50% more callbacks than African-American sounding names. Conformity bias relates to bias caused by group peer pressure. If an individual feels the majority of a group are leaning in a certain direction, one may go along with what the group thinks, rather than voicing one's own opinions.
Confirmation bias is when we make a judgment about another person and subconsciously look for evidence to back up our own opinions of that person.
How would you feel if your internal biases were visible to everyone you come in contact with? It's okay. You don't have to answer that question.
The good news is that there are things that we can do to mitigate the negative impact of biases on our review panels and selection committees' decision-making. Become aware of your perceptions, stereotypes, and attitudes and the impact they may have on your reasoning. Engage in thoughtful conversations to increase knowledge and reduce negative perceptions, stereotypes, and attitudes. Evaluate using only the criteria provided in the solicitation. Evaluate the entire proposal and spend sufficient time on your review. Be able to justify your ratings or statements and provide specific supporting evidence. Recuse yourself if there's a conflict of interest or lack of impartiality, or risk of such an appearance. If you perceive bias, address it. For example, notify the program officer if necessary.
Whether we consider ourselves to be in a majority or minority category, it is important to know that we all have implicit biases. It is a part of our human nature, part of our psyche. In fact, our implicit biases may be at odds with what we consciously believe and know to be correct.
In addition, by being aware of and reflecting on our own implicit biases, we can become more well-rounded and open to new ways of thinking. This can lead to a more diverse scientific workforce, more inclusive STEM environments, and ultimately greater scientific achievement.